Am I the jerk for refusing to give my parents my address when I move out? I, a 17-year-old male, will be moving out next year once I am done with high school. I will most likely finish closing on a duplex by June of 2025. I am financially blessed to be able to support myself. My income is steady, and I am wonderful at managing my monthly expenses and saving, so there are no issues on that. I like my family, but they are on both ends of the spectrum. While growing up, my dad was sometimes difficult, but he also helped me in ways that have significantly impacted my life. It just sucks that his impulsive actions and childlike behavior 20% of the time ruin the good man he is the other 80%. I am moving out because I genuinely cannot stand living with my family. I am literally nocturnal just to avoid them. As I mentioned, I would fight tooth and nail for my family, but I hate living with them. We just do not share many ideas and lifestyles. I also do not share religions with my parents, but I have yet to tell them. The entirety of my family is Muslim, but if I told them I was not Muslim, they would be upset for a long time, but eventually get over it while trying to get me to revert. My parents are aware I plan to move out. While talking about it, my wonderful older sister decides to chime in with a question. Well, when you move out, you're letting mom and dad sleep over and visit and stuff, right? I said no, using the excuse that the house would be my new office and I did not want people in and out of my office. My parents went on a rant about how they always knew I would abandon them and throw them away once I finished using them. I have adapted to the mentality that if I treat them like mentally ill children throwing temper tantrums, it usually works out okay. For the next 2 hours they argued with me about how I could not just leave and how I would not be around as often. I told them I obviously wouldn't be around as much and let them know that when I am gone, I will see them less and less often. By the way, my dad is currently in his silent treatment stage because of my decision. My family's values and mine simply do not align. They want me to get married, I do not. They want me to go to college, I do not. They want me to live at home till I am 25, I do not. They want me to get a normal 9-to-5 job, I do not. By the way, I want a dog when I move out. I am thinking about adopting, but I would prefer a dog that does not shed so that when they eventually do visit when I am 23 or something, they will not know I have a dog. Any recommendations on breeds? Peace? Here are my options. A. Give them the address and hope they do not randomly show up. They will. B. Pretend like I am moving out for college and just go live alone. C. Do not give them the address. Let them know I am moving out and let them kick and scream. You are not at fault here. Since you're 17, it's impressive that you have a steady, sustainable income and are in a position to close on a duplex. Option B sounds like the best choice. Distance and space are essential to figure out the life you want to lead. Why deal with the drama of options A and C when they sound toxic as hell? Good luck with your new life, and make sure to secure your bank account as soon as you turn 18. Am I the jerk? Recovering from surgery and sister brings a friend to stay? I've had a rough year with 2 major surgeries affecting my spine. I haven't been able to work for a year, and my mobility has been seriously affected. I found out my boyfriend of 1 year was cheating on me, but I live with him, so I was stuck there after my surgery. I live abroad with no family here. My sister has come to London to look after me post-surgery, so my parents have paid for everything for her, including an expensive Airbnb and flights. The plan was for me to stay in this Airbnb with her. She asked our parents to book a 2-bedroom flat because she didn't want to share a bed with me. My only requirements are for no stairs and a walk-in shower as I am not mobile at the moment. After booking this, she organized the same flight as her friend, and then told me the friend would also be staying there for free. I told her that I would be recovering from surgery and not in a good mental space and would not feel comfortable with a stranger staying with us. I also told my parents this, but they ignored how I felt and said the friend was only staying a couple of nights here and there and that I was being silly. I said okay. I have been staying at my flat with my ex-boyfriend until the friend leaves. The friend had been there for 3 days, but then the next person she was supposed to stay with for free canceled, so she will just stay in our Airbnb for another week. She did not ask my sister if this was okay. I asked my sister if she was okay with this, and she said no. I told her to message the friend and say she can stay another evening, but that she should please look for some alternative accommodation for the following day. I have been staying with my ex-boyfriend, which is very uncomfortable, to give her time to find a place. Now the friend has found a hotel and is not speaking to my sister. My parents say this is all my fault. I was having a breakdown before with my surgery and the pain plus the breakdown of my relationship, but I can't cope with all this extra stress now. I communicated that I wasn't comfortable before, but they went ahead anyway. And my father says I am incredibly selfish and that I have ruined my sister's holiday. Now that the friend has left, I have come to the Airbnb to stay in the 2nd bedroom. I noticed the shower is not walk-in, so I cannot use it without difficulty or risk of falling. This was only one of 2 requests I had. There are plenty of Airbnbs in London, and I was even happy to share a bed with my sister, but she picked a place that is not suitable for my basic care. I think she picked the 2-bed place, which is much more expensive for my parents, just so the friend could stay too. I am feeling awful, but also like my sister is taking advantage of the situation, having a free holiday with her friend. Now all my family is saying it's my fault, but I can't move anywhere without assistance. She has spent the majority of this time she has been in London with her friend. Even today, she has gone out to meet the friend for breakfast and left me at the Airbnb alone, miserable and without food. You are not responsible for this. If the parents could spend all that money to send the sister to help, they could have hired a part-time caregiver and found a suitable place for recovery. The whole plan of the sister taking a vacation isn't conducive to getting any needs met, especially after major surgery affecting mobility. It's baffling how the family doesn't understand the need for proper support during recovery. I feel sorry that such an uncaring response is being dealt with. Best wishes for the future. Am I the jerk, kicking my mom out? I am a 25-year-old female, married and a mother of 3 small children. Things have been out of control since my mother moved in. She is 56 years old, divorced, a retired Army veteran, and until recently, had a job for 9 years. She lost it after getting caught napping in the bathroom at work, something she had bragged about in the past. She was gone so long that her boss went looking for her. Rather than face getting fired, she quit. She is in good health, Christian, and has never had alcohol or drugs, with no known mental health issues. With her having nowhere to go and having alienated most of our family, I felt I had to let her move in, even though we hadn't spoken in over 2 years. She is the 4th of 9 siblings, none of whom speak to her. All 5 of my older siblings went no contact with her about 8 years ago. My husband and children had never even met her in person before this. The first 2 months were tense, but manageable. However, things have taken a turn for the worse with a few minor but 2 major incidents. The first happened when my husband was away for work. We had been exchanging some intimate emails. One night, I went to the kitchen for a glass of water and found my mother using my MacBook. She quickly closed it and began apologizing for reading my emails. I was shocked when I realized she had seen everything, including some explicit pictures of my husband. I did not tell him that part. I lost my composure and have not been able to talk to her much since. She hides in the guest room, avoiding even her grandchildren. The final straw came after a family outing with my husband and children. We had prepared a slow-cook meal in the oven so that dinner would be ready when we returned. After being out for about 7 hours, we came home to find our entire meal, a dish meant for 6 people, gone. 5 chicken leg quarters with sides had been eaten. It was as if animals had ravaged it, but it was just my mother. She sat in the living room, hands covering her mouth, eyes wide with shame, saying, "I couldn't stop. I just couldn't stop picking at it." There was nothing left but bones and drippings. My husband and I were too shocked to speak. We retreated to our bedroom in silence, trying to process what had happened while the children played in the other room. I felt like I was drowning in embarrassment and frustration. My mother later knocked on our door and offered to buy us Taco Bell. We just stared at her until she left. I called one of my brothers and a sister, both of whom reminded me that they had warned me not to let her move in. My mother-in-law is kind and nurturing, the complete opposite of my mom, and my husband does not know how to exist around her. I have given her a month to find other living arrangements. I'm afraid that if she stays, things will only get worse. We feel the need to lock our bedroom door when we are not home for the sake of privacy since she is a snoop. I feel like I am on the edge. It has only been 3 days since the last episode. Am I the antagonist for kicking her out? You did nothing to be ashamed of. Your mother has no idea how to respect boundaries or any desire to even attempt to do so. Rather than being grateful to you for giving her a place to stay, she is taking advantage of you. You gave her a lifeline and she blew it. Do not back down or you will be stuck with her forever. Am I the jerk for calling my parent an asshole? Yesterday, my parents, who are both 65 years old, and my sister, who is 25 years old, picked me up from my job. Something to know about me is that I tend to get carsick, and it gets worse if there are really loud noises. Something to know about my dad is that he talks very loudly, especially when he's on the phone. I was already feeling a bit nauseous when he started a call with my grandmother, and my mom kept showing me images of things she wanted to buy online. The nausea was starting to get really bad, and I was getting overwhelmed by the noise, so I told my mom I couldn't keep looking at the images because I was feeling nauseous. My dad ended his call and was asking what the commotion was about. My mom tends to overreact to things and was passing a bag back like I was going to vomit at that moment. When my mom and sister told him I was feeling nauseous partly because of how loud he was, he shook his head and started mumbling angrily. This irritated me because, while it's not conventional, I didn't feel well. He knows this is a thing, and my sister even agrees that his loudness makes her feel unwell too. Some time passed while my dad was talking with my mom. I still didn't feel well but was getting better when I let out a burp. My mom raised her voice and asked him to lower his voice because it was going to make her throw up. I never said this. I had no issue with him talking, and was about to express this when he started yelling at me, asking if his talking was really going to make me throw up and how ridiculous it was. I was already irritated and said it was ridiculous to get mad at me for something I didn't even say. He continued to get on my case. I repeated that I wasn't even the one to say anything about his volume, and then called him a jerk. He blew a fuse and started calling me derogatory names, and said that I should never speak to him that way. I know that since he is my father, I shouldn't call him a jerk. I recognize this and know that I was wrong here. But it's so frustrating living in a house where I can't feel ill without being chastised for it. That being said, he has been going through a hard time these last few months as we've lost a lot of close friends and family recently, and I'm starting to think I should have just kept it in. Neither my mom nor my sister are on my side, and I'm starting to doubt myself. Am I the jerk? No one should be using that kind of language toward each other, regardless of the situation. Your family really needs to start respecting each other's boundaries and feelings more. Maybe try sitting in the front seat next time to help with the motion sickness, or use wristbands designed for it. It's important to find ways to make everyone comfortable without escalating into hurtful arguments. Am I the jerk for calling my BFF a lazy parent? My best friend and I, both females and 24 years old, have been best friends since we were 10. We got so lucky to have our own little girl so close in age, or so I thought. Let's call my best friend Stacy. Stacy's daughter is 16 months older than my daughter, and there is a significant difference in how we parent. I try not to be judgmental, but when it starts to affect my child, I cannot help it. For example, my daughter is 14 months old and has little to no screen time. Occasionally, she will watch an episode of something low stimulating, but that just started about 2 months ago. Stacy's daughter, however, has had an iPad in her face playing Coco Melon and Mickey Mouse since she was 4 months old. That is Stacy's parenting choice. My issue is, why does Stacy's daughter need it while she is supposed to be having a play date with my daughter? Why does she need it while we are at the park? Why does she need it in a store? Why does she need it at a restaurant? Why does she need it at the aquarium? The other day, we were at a restaurant, and the babies were next to each other in high chairs. Stacy's daughter had a phone playing a show loudly, and naturally, my daughter was intrigued. Stacy's daughter got angry when my daughter started grabbing at the phone, and she hit my child in the face. I took the phone away and said, "Well, we don't need this right now anyway," and Stacy's daughter started having a fit. Stacy's solution was to give her the phone right back, and she did not correct her behavior at all after she slapped my child in the face. I let it go, and a few days later we were playing at her house. My daughter was playing with a toy while Stacy's daughter was watching a show on her iPad. Suddenly she walked over to my daughter, yanked the toy from her and pushed her down, causing my daughter to hit her head. Stacy did absolutely nothing but say, "I guess she wanted her toy." There was no correction of behavior, and no teaching her to apologize. I called her out for this and she said, "She's just a baby, she doesn't know any better." I replied, "And who do you think is supposed to teach her better?" She ignored me. So I grabbed my daughter and our stuff and said, "I'm leaving because I can't deal with the lazy parenting anymore," and I left. There have been many other similar situations to these two that always end with my daughter getting hurt, and I am just not feeling the playdates anymore. Even though my daughter is only 1 year old, I always correct her behavior when she does something unsafe, especially to another child. So, am I the antagonist? You acted correctly. Your daughter's safety and well-being are paramount. Her being injured is not an acceptable part of Stacy's daughter's learning. Not even reacting to her kid hitting others is beyond lazy parenting. It's just irresponsible at that point. Am I the jerk for planning not to go to my mother's best friend's funeral and sticking with my plans to go to a convention instead? I, 22-year-old female, just recently had my mom's, 52-year-old female, best friend, mid-50s female, pass away from a several-month-long and painful battle with cancer. I'll call her N from now on. My mom was extremely close to N, especially following her own recent diagnosis with breast cancer. I was also extremely close with N, to the point where I would consider her to be like an aunt to me. I had said my goodbyes to her a few days before she had passed, and had been quite emotional throughout the entire time. I have a hard time seeing other people sad or in pain, and as cheesy as it sounds, I have a strong amount of empathy to where I cry easily when someone else is upset. Because of this, funerals are not really my thing. I'm not a spiritual person, and as long as I have been able to, I have avoided funerals. I've gone to them before, but I always feel weird at them. N's funeral is on the same day as a huge convention that I have been preparing for months. Costumes have been organized for this day. Carpooling has been organized for this day. Expensive tickets and planned and prepaid photo shoots have been organized for this day. I have even managed to squeeze into an exclusive event with one of my childhood heroes. I am also planning on going to this with several friends, and we were all planning on riding together. As ashamed as I am to say it, I don't want to give up my plans to go to the funeral. While I know and love N's husband and son, who I went to high school with, I don't really know any of their other friends or family besides my own parents. While there is a funeral taking place, they are also planning to go down the beach to scatter her ashes at a later time, which I fully intend to go to. The only reason I would go would be to support my parents and N's son, but they all already have a support system that would be there. And it would probably become very emotional with crying, since it is still a rather fresh event in a very difficult last few weeks. I have no intention of speaking at the funeral or really doing much other than attending. Am I the asshole? You have some responsibility here. Funerals are for the living, and your mother has suffered a tremendous loss. Being there for her during this difficult time is the right thing to do. One day it will be clear that supporting her now is more important than anything else. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.